Infant sorrow, my mother groaned, my father wept. Into the dangerous world I leapt, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a fiend hidden in a cloud. Struggling in my father's hands, striving against my swaddling bands. Bound and weary, I thought best to sulk upon my mother's breast. My mother groaned, my father wept. Into the dangerous world I leapt, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a fiend in a cloud. Struggling in my father's hands, striving against my swaddling bands. Bound and weary, I thought best to sulk upon my mother's breast.
Infant Sorrow. This poem is from the Songs of Experience and is very much twinned with Infant Joy, which is in the Songs of Innocence. In many ways a simple poem, but a good one to analyse the use of rhythm and rhyme for achieving effects, poetic effects. And my mother groaned, my father wept, so we can hear this sort of four powerful beats in this line. My mother groaned, my father wept, dee-dum, dee-dum, dee-dum. And we get that kind of powerful I-ams in the line, emphasising the misery of the child. Remember, when you're talking about rhythm, try and link it to the meaning of the line that you're reading, and what sort of ideas it's trying to emphasise, what it's trying to make you think and feel. Into the dangerous world I leapt, and we have a kind of speeding up of the rhythm there, don't we? Into the dangerous world I leapt, which kind of creates a sense of energy, doesn't it? That we have this child who has this kind of energy and anger, helpless. Now he moves to trockies actually in the third line. Dum-dee, dum-dee, helpless, naked, piping loud. Dum-dee, 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 dum. Like a fiend hid in a cloud. And then we have the rising rhythm of two anapaests there. Like a fiend, dee-dee-dum, hid in a cloud. The rhythmic variation is really interesting, and it creates the effect of this sort of unnerving, jerky rhythm, doesn't it? Because this poem is so different, isn't it, from Infant Joy, which has that kind of smooth, flowing rhythm, where, you know, I have no name, joy is thy name. There's a kind of a very kind of natural rhythm to this. This is jerky and uncertain and complete, changing all the time. And of course we have the couplets that are very powerful. They use consonants to emphasize the kind of harshness of what's going on. Wept, the PT sound, loud, and we have that kind of long vowel sound, ow, cloud, loud, those long vowel sounds creating a kind of howling effect in the line, and then with the d, the D ending them, creating a sense of harshness. So we get kind of very carefully chosen simple rhymes to create effects. Struggling in my father's hand, striving against my swaddling bands. Notice the powerful alliteration, struggling, striving. And we then also have bound and weary, I thought best to sulk upon my mother's breast. So we've got the alliteration with the b sound, bands, bound, best, breast. Creating a harsh, powerful, almost punchy effect with the consonants there. So it's almost like we're being whacked in the face by this poem, aren't we? The idea behind it is that a child is just born into a world of misery. There's a sort of admiration for the child and his anger, isn't there, in this poem, that he's sort of fighting against the misery that he's come into. You know, that the mother doesn't want him born, she's moaned, the father wept, he's an unwanted child, and yet he's fighting, isn't he, against the circumstances he's finding himself in. He's bound and weary, he's bound up, he's sort of wrapped up so tightly and unable to move, but he revolts against this by sulking. So obviously you would think the word would be suck, wouldn't it? Suck on your mother's breast, but it's sulk, isn't it? So a clever sort of play on words, emphasizing sort of the misery of this child. So the poem, although very simple, has many sort of poetic devices in there. You can look at the use of rhythm, you can look at the rhymes, the powerful rhyme schemes, you can look at the alliteration and think about how the poem achieves its effects, how it achieves this sense of misery and anger and surprise in just 8 simple lines.
Struggling in my father's hand,